Brian, what we just saw this report from, I guess, Hugo Perez himself, saying that Alex Roldan was going to be joining El Salvador. Have you had any contact with Hugo? I think you guys were maybe teammates back in the San Diego Sockers.
I had a lot of contact with Hugo Perez, but that was in 1984 through 88. So I have not had any current conversations with him. And Jeremiah, look, what I can say on this is, look, the story's out there. You know, I would defer to Alex to, you know, if there's any sort of official announcement from Alex. That's a big story for him. You know, we've always been supportive of our internationals, and, you know, certainly Alex has been deserving of recognition because his play this year has been good. So I'll leave it at that. I mean, I've spoken to Alex, and, you know, when things, you know, they're progressing, but when he's ready to make that announcement, I'll let him do it.
Well, one follow-up on that. Do you have any sense of who might be missing for the Gold Cup at this point?
No. Those are negotiations, conversations that we'll have. I mean, you guys know the drill. I mean, they'll put out the preliminary rosters. If there's injuries, they'll bring guys in. On the Gold Cup, you know, there's times when you can talk to some coaches. You know, Alex has expressed to me that, you know, the Sounders are pretty important, you know, that he's, you know, played 8 games and he wants to solidify his starting spot with the Sounders and help the team continue to perform at a high level. So those are things that he has to discuss with, you know, if he has a different coach at a certain time, he'll have those conversations with him.
Hey, Coach, how's Josh Atencio doing this week?
Good. Full training tomorrow.
Brian, kind of going back to Jeremiah's question and the players, just how important is it, or is it good to see players know that to focus on what's at hand, that is practicing the day-to-day, performing for the club, and then that will get them the country call-up, as opposed to kind of trying to have that in their mind and just staying focused on the goal at hand?
Well, I think, Maz, if I'm understanding the question correctly, which it's a good topic to discuss, because look, at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know what conversation Raúl had with his national team coach, but, you know, Raúl's back here. You know, I don't know what conversations, I'm not privy to any sort of conversations that other players might have with their respective national team coaches, but I'm glad they're having conversations. For me, it's always, you have to be playing at a good level, a really good level in many circumstances, depending on which nationality you're representing, to get playing time with your national team. So Alex, to me, is just being smart. I mean, he's got to understand that he's got to play well with us to get this opportunity. And he's also, you know, working to establish himself here with the Sounders, because remember, he wasn't the de facto starter in years past. So he's still got to keep working at that.
Can we get a Brian Schmetzer update on the background? Looks like somebody's graduating.
That is Danny Leyva. It's like I got 28 different sons on the team. But we are very proud of him and Ethan. I don't know if you guys follow Ethan on Instagram, and some of the guys that have graduated, our gal Diane Carney, who's worked really hard with all of our young players to get them through high school. Danny's story, you know, he's not from here, he's from Vegas. He had his grandmother come, you know, his mom and dad, his grandmother come to, you know, help celebrate what is a big occasion for all families when, you know, your kids graduate from high school. So it's a feel-good story, Maz. I just want everybody to feel good.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach,
Brian,
how are you, Coach? Coach, I wanted to ask you with Arriaga not playing the first game in Copa America, would you rather to have him back? Have you talked to him? Have Arriaga talked to the coach that you were mentioning, like not being used in the Copa America as in the starting 11?
That's an interesting storyline, Alonso. I'm keeping my eyes. I have not talked to Javi directly. You know, sometimes it's better to stay away in those circumstances. But I am keeping a very close tab on whether he starts the next game. His next game, I believe, is on Sunday. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see. Now, in Javi's case, I mean, he's played a lot of games for his national team. So who knows if it was just one game or, you know, maybe Javi got kicked in the shin at practice, or who knows the reason why he didn't start, but we'll see.
Coach, you guys come right out of a long break into a pretty busy run of games, a lot of midweek games. Every MLS season is kind of like this, but does this year feel especially tricky in terms of maintaining a rhythm and kind of keeping everybody on the same page that way?
It is, Matt, but what I would say is that we went through that last year. I mean, we stop, start. It felt like 3 seasons last year. So for us, this break is, you know, convenient in some sense, inconvenient in others. And, you know, I laid it out there to the team the other day because they weren't sharp at training. And I just said, look, you guys have to understand, you haven't played a game in 3 weeks. There's going to be some time in the game where you might not be as clean as you normally are. And what that requires is just a little bit more concentration, the understanding that things might not go as well. You might be a little rusty, but extra concentration will help fix that. So we'll see how it goes, Matt. We'll see against the Galaxy. And then, yeah, you're right. I mean, we've got RSL at home and Vancouver at home right after that. Those aren't going to be easy games. So yeah, we're in the thick of it right away.
Brian, you know, you have all these home games and you're going to end up with quite a home heavy schedule in this early stage. How important is it to, I realize this is looking ahead past the Galaxy game to a degree, but I mean, how important are collecting points at this stage in the season, you know, before things get potentially even crazier?
Well, we've always been a fairly decent, probably above average away team, Jeremiah. I think the way we're set up defensively this year, we might collect a few more points. We might be able to improve on that record. You know, because you got to be strong defensively when you're on the road in MLS. But what I would say is San Jose, you know, Portland, we've gotten some results, you know, LAFC, the draw, you know, we talked about that ad nauseum. So we're collecting points on the road, which is critical. And, you know, we understand that it's going to be tougher towards the end of the year. So yeah, these games are going to be important.
Coach, by the way, can you hear me fine now?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Trying to something different on my computer now. So you talk about the home games that are coming up next week, and there's going to be a lot more people in the stadium. How do you feel about that?
Love it. I'm vaccinated. I know everybody, you know, has their opinion, but I think what we did is, you know, we as an organization, you know, again, I'll go to our doctors, the messaging, all the players getting their vaccinations, you know, many people out there getting our vaccinations. That's the number one way to help us out of this, you know, and then the club has done a good job of, you know, setting aside vaccinated sections. Alex can probably give you all the details about how we're going to check for people and coming into the stadium and stuff like that. It's all part of the process. And I think our club has done a really good job of keeping us safe, number one, and number two, trying to keep our fans safe.
Coach, how do you kind of look back on the start that you guys had, especially, you know, ending in 2 draws? It seems like a long time ago, as you said, you guys have, you know, dealt with the start stops, but, you know, how do you kind of reflect back on the way you guys started?
Well, I had the help of a nice article in the paper about 5 things to watch for in the, rebirth of our season. So thank you for that, Jada. It gave me some ideas. It's going to be a challenge. I think we're past the 2 games. I think we learned a little bit from the 2 games, the way Atlanta kind of matched us tactically. There might be, the Galaxy, we have an idea that they might try and match us with playing with 3 center backs. So we'll see if that manifests itself, but we're preparing for that. The Austin game, I thought we played, better. I think our possession was better. We just didn't, we were just missing a couple, those critical passes in the final third. And we've done a lot of work on that during this break. So hopefully what we've learned from those last 2 games, Jada, push us over the edge and we can win a few more games.
Hey, Brian, I was wondering, obviously Greg Vanny is a coach that is very experienced. After, the tough result he got here, do you expect any changes, adjustments from him playing at home this upcoming game?
For sure. For sure he's going to make adjustments. I mean, not just because of the game, here, but because he's got a couple of new shiny players and, he's, figuring out his team. I mean, this is his first year with the club and he's trying to rebuild things and, all of that. So I'm totally preparing for a different feel, a different look as to how they play.
And obviously with Raúl, always being motivated no matter what, but what have you seen out of him, this couple of days in training, and have you talked to him about, his state of mind after the whole thing with Peru?
Yeah. He's happy to be home, Nico, very happy to be home. So he'll be fine. He is motivated. You are correct in that sense.
Hey, Coach, I'm wondering if you talk a little bit about Kellen Rowe. He wasn't in the starting lineup in the first game, and then when Atencio went out, he comes in. What have you seen from him over the season so far, jumping in there and his job in the midfield trio?
Well, he's a versatile player, which, comes in handy. He played in that position throughout his college years and spells with New England. So he knows that position. He knows that part of the field. He's just a veteran presence that is, giving us some really good minutes so far this year.
Other questions for Brian, guys?
Yeah, Coach, do you have any updates on your Jordan Morris and Nico Lodeiro? I know Jordan is way out, but how is he doing?
Both Jordan and Nico are working hard in their rehabilitation. Delem working hard, surgeries all successful. But those are, again, longer term, injuries. There's no new updates there. When things get close, when guys start getting on, and again, to your point, Delem and Jordan Morris, are a ways away. But when Nico starts training, getting on the grass and running around, I'll let you guys know.
Because just one about Juneteenth and that becoming a federal holiday. You've talked a lot about Black Lives Matter and the issues surrounding that. I mean, is it a date that you knew much about, and how do you kind of feel about being on that stage playing on Saturday?
It is the anniversary of my wife, Christina, and I as well, Jada. So it's a very important date in my life. No, we didn't hear a lot about it when I was growing up in high school many, many, many years ago, Jada, but I'm all for the designation of a holiday, and it's going to be an important day for sure.
Brian, I guess this is going to be the first game the Galaxy will have played in front of an unlimited crowd. You know what I'm saying? Is that something that you're at all speaking to with the players, that it's going to be potentially a different kind of road atmosphere than they've had to deal with for the last year?
No, I haven't yet Jeremiah. That's actually a good catch. Maybe I will. But right now I'm not overly concerned about it. I mean, it seems like forever ago that we haven't played in front of our fans, in front of 40,000 Seattleites, the ECS, all of that. It seems like a really long time, but most of the guys are used to it by now. I'm sure it's not going to affect them too much.